Hey there crafter, thanks for watching my channel. So today we're going to have our third installment of this Crochet Friday mini-series, and today we're going to learn how to crochet the moss stitch. Before we jump into this week's video, click on the card up there if you want to see the whole playlist so you can watch the first two videos from this series. Alright, let's jump into this week's video. So this here is the moss stitch. It's a really fun texture and it looks beautiful in just one color, but it's also super fun when you use several colors. This project though is deceivingly simple. It looks really textured, but the only stitches we need to know are the chain stitch and the single crochet stitch. Again, I use US terminology. So chain stitch is the standard chain and single crochet is where you work a stitch without yarning over first. The way we achieve the texture of this pattern with only those two stitches is by working a single crochet chain pattern, and then on the next row we work our single crochet in the chain spaces instead of into the actual stitches themselves. That causes the stitches to almost interlock, kind of like you might think of like a tire tread, if you will. And if we stretch it out, you can see a little bit better how it's single crochet and then a chain space, single crochet, chain space, and how then on the next row we fill in those chain spaces with single crochet stitches. This pattern is pretty straightforward, so we should be able to get through it pretty quickly. As far as what materials I'm using today, this is a swatch I worked up with some Vanish Choice and Fern and some Red Heart yarn and just a teal color. I'm going to be working up our sample today with this Red Heart yarn here. And I will have all these products linked down below. This week I am once again using this size H 5mm hook. As with all the textures and patterns I'm showing on these Crochet Fridays, it really doesn't matter what kind of yarn you use. Just pick a yarn you want to use and then look on the packaging to find an appropriate hook size and just adjust your hook size to your yarn. But it's really fun because trying these patterns in different kinds of yarn can create whole new looks from the same pattern. Alright, so I'm going to work through this starting with my pink color. As with all crochet projects, you want to start with a slip knot on your hook, and we need to start with our foundation chain. This one's really simple. We just need to crochet a multiple of 2 plus 1, or another way to put it, we need to just crochet an odd number of chains. So for the sake of this sample, I'm going to chain 19 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 18, 19. Also, I apologize, my voice is a little scratchy right now. I don't know why. I think it's the weather coming through here, but hopefully my voice clears up as we go through this so you don't have to listen to my horrible scratchy voice. Alright, so once we have an odd number of chain stitches, here I have 19, we're going to work our first row. The first thing we need to do is we're going to work a single crochet stitch in the second chain from our hook. So not here, but in the second one, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So that works my first single crochet. Now we're going to work a repeating pattern. And the repeating pattern is going to be work a chain, skip the next stitch, and then do a single crochet in the following stitch. I'll show you that again. Work a chain stitch, skip the next stitch, and work a single crochet in the following stitch. So if you want to think of it this way, we're working a single crochet stitch in every one of our foundation chains. And in between single crochets, we're working a chain. So chain, skip a stitch, single crochet. Chain, skip a stitch, single crochet. We're going to repeat this all the way across until we have just one chain left. Alright, so I've worked our repeating pattern across. We work a chain, skip a stitch, and then work a single crochet. And I have just one stitch left, just this first chain here. In my very last stitch, I'm going to work a single crochet. Here's what this will accomplish. The whole way across, from the right to the left, it's going to go single crochet, chain space, single crochet, chain space, all the way across, and then on the left-hand side of our row, we will have 2 single crochets. This is so we can end up with an even border, and so we can start our pattern the same way every single row. So let me show you what I mean with row 2. And row 2 is our row that we just repeat over and over and over to make it as big as you want. Row 2, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and single crochet in this very first space. So we have a single crochet from the first row with a single crochet in the second row right above it. Now we're going to start our repeating pattern. We're going to chain 1, skip the single crochet stitch below us, and in the chain space of the previous row, we're going to work a single crochet. So when I say work in the chain space, I mean we're not going through the chain stitch itself, but we're actually going to go through this big loop that it creates. Pull up a loop and work a single crochet. And this is the pattern we will repeat all the way across. Work a chain, skip the single crochet, find the next chain space, and work a single crochet right into that chain space. Again, chain 1, skip single crochet, work a single crochet into the chain space. And I'm going to keep repeating this all the way across. Now once we've worked all the way across doing our repeating pattern, we're going to end up with one stitch and it's going to be a single crochet from the previous row. And in the very last stitch, we're going to work a single crochet. So the left hand side will always end up with 2 single crochet right beside each other. But that's the basics of working this pattern. What makes this one so much fun is when you change colors, because then they kind of nestle together and you can get some really cool textures. So I'm going to do a couple rows where I change to my green, so you can get a look at how that's going to look. And then I'll also do it where I'm changing between 3 colors, because then it looks super awesome. So to change color for this, I'm just going to fasten off each time, and then once I fasten off, I will flip my work over, get my new color of yarn. I'll start with a slip knot on my hook, size it down. In the first stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and I've got the slip knot on my hook and the loop, and then I'll yarn over, pull through 2, and that'll be my single crochet. So then I'm going to start the pattern. Chain 1, skip the single crochet and work a single crochet in the chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip single crochet, work a single crochet in the chain 1 space all the way across, and then I'll switch back to the pink and I'll throw in another color as well so you can really see how that will look. So here's a look at how this pattern turns out when you swap back and forth every row between 2 colors. You'll also probably notice on my tail ends, I'm not going to do anything with this piece other than take a thumbnail picture and I'll just crop the tail ends out. But anyways, you of course can weave your tail ends in, and changing colors gives this really fun vertical stripe look to it. But it's also really cool if you work with like 3 colors or 4 colors, because then all the different colors of stitches kind of pop up in different places and create some really neat, almost geometric patterns. So I'll go ahead and show you how it looks with doing 3 colors, but you can of course expand this to 4 colors, to 5 colors, and it'll create some really neat looks and textures, especially if you want to do something that's larger, like a big blanket. That'd be a really cool way to add a lot of texture and pops of color throughout a blanket using just basic simple stitches. So here's a look at doing it with 3 different colors, and if I had done this more times, you would have seen it more. But basically the colors, because we're doing an odd number, they kind of shift over each time, whereas with just an even number, they stay lined up. So that's another way you can get different textures. But I think this is so much fun because personally, I'm not a big fan of the single crochet stitch. I find it kind of tedious usually, but this works up super fast. And just by changing colors, you can make it look super cool. So that is the moss stitch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell notification so you'll get notified when I post next week's Crochet Friday. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.